So this is the last part that I'm going to show you how to just basically put together a static page for that Figma from our class exercise with it. Hey, let me bring you back your attention here with it. So something that I did just to modify some stuff with it as well with it. So let me zoom in a little bit so we could actually see a little better with it. I just hold down my control key and with if you have a mouse that has a wheel, you can zoom in or however you want to do this thing with it. I made it less look like a document and make it more like a web page in this case with it. So it's up to you. It's nothing fancy or nothing like that. I'm telling you anything different with it. I just moved this little right header down here. I just deleted that and I just came down here and I expanded that and moved that down, that content at the bottom. So it looks like a little bit more linear, making this like a header, making this like the body, and this is the footer. So it's a little easier for you first to learn the layout for this as well with it. So I ask you to do the same. If you can actually just delete that little right-hand part on the right-hand side over here and just move it down to the bottom. How do you do that? Well, just go in and if you do, let's see if I did this a few minutes ago, but I still have it on here. Just click on this level right here on the text that you have and just hit delete, and it'll just delete that with it. And you click on this text tool and you come down here and you start typing, just putting in your text in here as well. Okay, so if you can, this is what we're trying to achieve is the final product with this. And the second thing is that there's supposed to be no color for wireframe. So the process is going to black and white to avoid putting any colors on here. So you can actually see the black and white is less distraction, and then the last step is to actually put the color in there as well. So I just want to let you know the color in the wireframe is not, we don't normally do that with it, or the gray. So it's wireframe is black and white basically with it as well. Okay, so let's move this aside here. Just keep this as a mental image on the background with it. So I'm going to start out with this part right here, is starting from scratch, is our Visual Studio with it as well. So we're going to start with the visual code from scratch with it. So I'd like for you to come over here and just open up your Explorer with it. If you do file open, I got a whole bunch of Workbench with it as well. So I got a whole bunch of files in here with it, in my Workbench with it. So it's up to you where you store your files. Again, I'm not going to police you where you want to store your files with it as well. So I have on my desktop with it. So just come over and just do right mouse click, create a folder. I already have, let's call this thing class EX4 underscore static web page. Okay, it's like that. Okay, so it's up to you. And I'm going to select it. Just create a folder called static web page, React, whatever you want to call this thing with it. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you with it. I'm going to select that folder. It's an empty folder right now with it. Here's what I'd like for you to do for me. We're going to actually create 3 subdirectories in here, and we're going to keep it straight in here as well. So the first one, make sure you click on the class project with it, and the icon over here is this second icon over here, and you come over and just do CSS is the first one. The second one, make sure you have it selecting the folder, the project that you have with it, and you click on they all should be IMG is the second folder, so make sure they're all lined up equivalent with it as well. Click on the next one with it and click on the next one's JS. So I'd like for you to create 3 subdirectories at the same level, subdirectory, all 3 same level, and a file sitting outside of it is, if you right mouse click and select new files, call that one index.html. Okay, and inside of the CSS one, click on the CSS one, right mouse click on it, file, and I want you to do the styles.css for me. Okay, and then inside of the image, we're going to bring in a piece of graphics here in a second, but click on the JS, right mouse click on it, and we're going to call this thing, what I forgot to call this thing, let's call this index.js with it. So this is what the file structure I want you to have it look like with it. So hang on to this thing. I want you to take a look at this right here and pause your computer. I would like your file structure to look exactly like this at this time for me, okay? So pause. So let's come over and take a look at your index.html page I have right now with it. So before we do that, I'll tell you what, before we look at the index.html, I gave you a piece of graphics that came with this right here. It's the Dallas logo with it. So why don't you go ahead and find that piece of graphics and drag that into the folder that you have with it. I have it here. I downloaded it, so just drag that and point it to IMG and just let go, and there it is right here with it. So this is a piece of graphics I gave you. It's part of class exercise number 3 as well with it, but I like to use for you to use this one with it because it's transparent, it's PNG, it's transparent with it as well. So let's get everything all set up in places with it as well. Here's what I'd like for you to do. So make sure you look at this file structure exactly like this. I don't want anything to be dumped into the same directory as what you have right now with it. So please keep this thing straight and keep the file structure like I asked you to do with it. If it doesn't look anything like this, I'm going to take off points. So let's help me with that. The first thing I need for you to do is why don't you open up that template that I have you open. If you recall that template, that file that I had you open, and if you can just do file, open file, and find that file that you were working in with it as well. So give me a second here. I need to find that file that I gave you a few minutes back then with it. Look at it, hang on. Documents. Sorry, let me pause and give. So remember this template right here? This is the template I was telling you about with it. Let me expand this a little bit more so you can see the rest of this. This is the template I was telling you about with it, but we're going to have to fix a little bit about the links in this as well with it. So make sure you have, this is the one I'm talking about with it. We're going to add in a couple more links in this as well. This hello world, we did this back in a little earlier with it, but this is the template I was telling you about is with what we're looking for. So I want you to do this. Open up this template right here that we have. Control A, copy it, and paste this into your index page. That's what you have over here. And we're going to add a little bit more files. So let me close out this index page so we don't confuse it with other stuff with it as well. So we got our 3 CDN files and our text babble is the type in here as well with it. We need to link a couple of these things with it to properly link. First of all, we need to link the index to the index.js. So this is not properly done with it. As you can see, we need to actually have it properly done with it. So if I take out the source and this right here with it, / and come down on the JS and click on the file. That's one thing I want you to do, okay? The second thing is, let me get a second. Sorry, yeah, a little distracted over in the TV over in the with it. The second thing is I want you to take a look at is the we have to put a link that links to your style sheets over here as well, right? So let's come down here. Let's go ahead and do that. Here you do have it up here with it. Okay. So again, this is the style sheet and it links to the style sheet.css with it. So we need to do what? Take this out and just do a / for me, CSS, and click on styles with it as well. So let me pause here. Make sure you have everything that that I want you to pause the screen with it and take a look at this and record. And I want this template to be looking like this before we move to the index.javascript with it. All right. So would you pause the video and we'll take a look at it and compare your code and my code. Let me see if I can get the rest of this on here. Okay. So that's just a closing of the tag over there with it. Okay. Just pause and check line by line for me. So let me continue. So before we move on, this is the template I'd like for you to have on one of the files that we talked about is 3 CDN files. Make sure your JavaScript file structure that you connected to the index with it, and everything looks exactly like I have right here before we move on with it as well. So let me come in here right now at this time I want to jump over to the index.javascript right now. In the past, we've done in the early exercise with it, we did what's called the step-by-step, the implication of the code with it, meaning that I want you to stop to think about it, because we're going to change the way how we do that, is to write a function this time. So the syntax in the past was that you wrote the imperative type of design is the step-by-steps with it. This time I'm going to actually have you do what's called a function with it. Now the syntax is a little different with it. So in your index, okay, so you got your index and your style sheets. What do we need to actually have at the beginning of all of these files with it? If you remember, make sure you put your header on this thing for me as well. So we're going to need to comment out this with it. So let me move the mouse out of the way with it. Dash dash, remember this? I'm sorry, explanation dash dash as a comment with it. So in here I want you to put your full name and your code. And then this is, what is this course? My head's going to turn around here. Your course is IMED2315, and I like for you to put the term in here. So put your semester, whatever semester you have, fall, spring, summer, and year for me in here. Okay, so just fill this out for me, every one of these. So I'm just going to highlight this. Now this is for the angle bracket explanation dash dash is for a comment, block comment for what? For HTML, right? So we need to actually do the code that's the comment for the index with it. So let's start with that. So remember, for an index, you got to do a / and an asterisk with it, and another asterisk with it, and that actually comments it out with it. So this is the comment for this with it. Do the same thing for the styles with it. So let me copy for the index, just copy that part, whatever the name that you need to put in here with it, and make sure you have your header and properly done with it as well. Okay, so it looks like that. Coming through this, I want, so let's come down to your Java, that script with it. Again, it has 3 of these circle white dots on mine. You need to actually save it for me, okay? So file, save all with it. So save everything with it. Come down to your index. So open up your index.js with it. So if you recall, we making sure everything works okay with it. So making sure that you have everything coming out and connecting to it as well with it in your JavaScript for me. We're just going to do a render for me at this time with it, and render the hello world. I just want to make sure all the pages are connected and everything with it. You remember what that function, what that looks like? So just do React. You're going to bring in the React DOM model with it as well, right? So React DOM dot render, and you're going to actually put in here in your first parameter, remember what that was. We're just going to test, make sure all the pages are connected in this thing. Let's just call this is a test, and we're just going to connect this, and then we're over here. The second parameter is what you're going to actually is to do the where you're going to actually put this in. So it's document tab.get ID element by ID with it. Okay, it's this one right here, and we're going to put it in the root of this. Putting in a quote root with it as well. So if I did this right now, I want to make sure everything's done right with it. So I'm going to save this, Control S with this, and I'm going to actually go in my index.html. I'm going to right mouse click line, open up my server page. I should see this is a test script, just to test that all the pages are connected between the index and the index. The 2 index pages are talking to each other. It's the index.html and the index.js are talking to each other right now with it. Before I move on, make sure you do this before we move forward on this thing. So once you have that right now, why don't you just hang on to that for a moment. We're going to still use that statement with it as well, right? So for now, I'm just going to comment that out with it, so it masses it out // with it. And I want to have you write a function for me. Start out with the word function. And the name of the function is different from a constant, is that you have to uppercase the first letter, which is, I'm going to call this page, okay? This is the name of an identifier. Identifiers are, in programming, if you ever have me for programming C++, I talk about Java and C++, identifiers are functions, variables, and constants. Function is considered as an identifier, so you have to name it properly with it as well. So when you name your identifiers with it, it only can be alpha and alpha and text only, okay? You can't start with a number. You can't put spaces in your function with it as well. So in this case, when you call a function, you uppercase the first one. This is just a good practice in JavaScript with it as well. So that's how you do it, all right? So I put in a curly bracket as the boundaries for this page function is what I'm doing. Inside of this, I'm going to return another set. It looks like this. So inside of this, I'm going to return the parameter is what, when you call page, what is it that you want to return? Well, if you recall, we can actually do a head tag in the other one that we talked about with it. In the Figma I share with you, there's the top row is that image is going to be the head section, there's going to be the page section, and there's going to be a footer section in there, right? So in the head section, I want to nest in another section in there. It's called the nav, which is a navigation with it, and I'm going to put in that image. So here's that image with it. IMG is the element with it. src. All right. Now, and then you're going to actually do a / to connect to going into the IMG folder, and the name of the file is dclogo.png. All right. So IMG / DC logo. Make sure you uppercase it because the file I have is uppercase. It is Java is case sensitive. It's PNG is lowercase with it. And come to the right of that quote. I'm going to give this a width at this time before it gets too large with it, and we can adjust it as well. Let's just do 40 pixel for now, and come to the right of that quote, put a / to close out this image tag with it. So it looks like this right now with it, right? Place your cursor after the closing of the head tag. Your next section is you're going to put in is your H1 right now, right? So in my H1 right now, I'm just going to put fun facts. Fun facts about React. Okay. And the next section we're going to put in is the it's orderless. Remember that? So I'm going to do OL, close that off, and inside of this orderless with it. Now ignore all the other stuff that's kind of squiggly line right now because we haven't called this function yet. So hang on. So it looks really weird with all the stuff that I'm putting in here with it. All this is going to go away in a second here. So just bear with me in this thing with it. So LI, and I'm going to close off this LI. Just put a space after for me, would you? And it's screaming at me because it wants something. Let me see what's going on here. Let me just copy this, and how many of these? We got to do 5 of these things, so we're going to fill in here. Alright, let me see what's going on here, why it's screaming at me. So here is the head section, closing the head section, the curly brackets, the div. That's what we're missing. You say it wants a parent. You got to put all of this inside of a parent one with it. So div tag with it. So I should have started with the div tag. Let me just cut this thing with it. That's why it wants the whole thing is to be in a div tag with it. So make it look like this for me. The moment I put in a parent bracket with it, let me clean this up a little bit with it. Okay, whoops. Sorry. I want everything to be lined up properly with it, that's why. Okay. Everything lined up, indented in. Not that it matters, but readability is very important in programming. There are things that we do as best practice, and I want you to make sure you do that with it as well. All right, fun facts about React. First thing, it was created, was first, let me just fast forward really quick, okay? And you could pause the screen. Okay, and then the last part is we need to put in a footer, I told you, with it as well. So in the footer with it, we're going to use, make sure you put your name on this thing. So let me do small, so it makes the small fonts a little smaller with it, so we don't have to worry about this. And I want you to put your name on here. It's a bracket. I'm going to say your name, your full name goes here. Here with it, okay? So don't put it in a bracket. That's only for you with it as well. And this is IMED2315, and put your semester and year here. Okay? So it looks like this right now. Now, so this is what this page looks like. Let me scroll over again. This is coming over to a little right with it. So this is what this whole function looks like right now with it. Now, you have this function. Part of programming is you write a function, but you have to call it. You have to render it. You have to, the process is encapsulation with it. You have to call the function that you just created with it as well. So far, I want to give you a second to actually take this in for it. And I want to bring up the statement right here. All right, this is the statement that we did as a test page with it. So I want you to take a second to look at this. And I'm running almost out of time. I want to be really quick with this thing. So to call this function to render in a page, if you recall, this is the syntax with it. The name of the function is called page, and you need to give a / It's kind of like a tag with it as well. So it looks like this right now with it. So pause the screen and get this in right now with it. It shouldn't have any squiggly lines, red or green, anything in there with it as well. And it's not saved yet, so I want you to pause it. Get exactly, this is for the index.js, index JavaScript file with it, okay? So I want to move this, pause it. Got it? And I want to share this particular browser so you can see what's on the screen right now with it. All right? So I want to save it right now. Control S. Saves it. Okay, so it brings up this right now. Now, what you're seeing at is, why, Dan, is the browser, is this logo not coming through, Dan? Well, let's take a look at it really quick. All right, I'm going on 20 minutes right now, so I need to stop the video before it gets too long with this.